White, a blank canvas or a page. The challenge, bring order to the whole through design, composition, tension, balance, light, and harmony. This previous line marks the opening of Stephen Sondheim's musical marvel, Sunday in the Park with George. These words challenge me to reimagine the creative process as an extension of the structure of life. The way I see it, this unveils an important question. Is a canvas ever fully blank? Or are we constantly engulfed in a process of ideation and creation? Hi, my name is Julia, and today I want to show you how creative interests and processes can emerge from past experiences and can enhance the structure of life. First, let's examine the creative process through George Seurat, the main character of Sondheim's Sunday in the Park with George. This musical follows Seurat's experiences painting a Sunday afternoon on the island of Le Grand Chat and captures the intricate dimensions of the creative process as a whole. Seurat, an influential painter, is credited with creating a more precise form of Impressionism, called pointillism. For those wondering, the premise of pointillism is to create images that mirror real life using billions of pin-sized dots. When the genre first emerged, pointillism pushed boundaries and challenged the integrity of Impressionism. These dots represent worlds of opportunity. They can be placed anywhere on a page. They can be scattered or placed into a deliberate pattern. Specifically, these dots are used as brushstrokes and fit into fixed spaces on a page. So, while the dots seem overwhelming, the challenge is to bring order to the chaos. When we first meet Seurat in the musical, he is questioning the setting of his new painting. The contrast between his blank canvas and the worlds that he wishes to create is daunting. Thematically, this musical explores filling a limited blank page with unlimited ideas. Seurat is trying to figure out how a collection of dots can hold meaning, evoke emotion, and represent detail. And through this, a struggle emerges as he tries to contemplate new ideas. This struggle then turns into obsession. He focuses on some rather insignificant details of his painting. Specifically, he focuses on finishing the hat of one figure in the picture. And being a musical, this infatuation with the hat becomes a song. This song then references reaching for worlds outside of your window. In the moment, his need for creative expression overtakes his need for precision. And by the end of the song, Seurat finishes his hat, but then questions the originality and authenticity of his ideas. After all he had done was finish a hat, and not the entire painting. Eventually, Seurat comes to the realization that each idea he places on a page is unique. Before someone even makes an individual brushstroke, they're influenced by their past experiences and current doubts. And while one idea can be very similar, the way it is presented varies from person to person. All in all, the structure that Seurat is building upon is his evolving canvas. From Seurat's experiences, I would learn that no experience in life is ever blank. While something may appear incomplete, the unfilled state is simply a reflection of our circumstances. It encompasses everywhere we have been and everywhere we intend to be. In turn, we are influenced by the creativity beauty, and tension that live in our past. In Sarah's case, the structure he was building upon was his blank canvas, and his creative opportunities came to him in the form of dots. And through a glance at the window and an edit to a canvas, he was able to discover his past experiences and how they fit into his life. And then, through honing his craft, he was able to finish his hat and his entire painting and realize that each idea that he places is unique. This notion of Sarah's connects closely to my own experiences. I have also questioned how creativity can fit into the structure of life. I most vividly remember being flooded with a sentiment one day in my first year finance lecture. The lecture hall was bitter and cold and completely empty on this particular day. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a small window. Little did I know, that glance would lead me to one of the most meaningful breakthroughs of my life. Through the window, I spotted 1,000 falling flurries. I began to see my surroundings as poetic as I began to contemplate the purpose of snow. I remember why there are so many snowflakes in the sky and wondering why none of them seem to accumulate. I then connected this to the amount of opportunities that are presented to each of us in life and how few of them end up materializing. Just like Sarah was connecting dots, I found myself connecting flurries. And just like that, in 5 minutes, I had written my first song called Flurries right there in my finance lecture. At this moment, the act of writing a song was my blank canvas. I had never written a song before. I had always loved music, musical theater, and playing the flute, but I never would have imagined that songwriting would be something that I'd be capable of. At that time, I thought that my decision to go to business school meant that I had to abandon my creative side. From that perspective, songwriting felt like a bold departure from the familiar canvas I had designed for myself. The experience came with an undeniable thrill. It was simultaneously indulgent, yet natural. At that moment, I began to question if songwriting was a blank canvas for me at all. We are persistently being impacted by our surroundings and environments, and we are always building upon the structure in our lives with creativity. For perspective, as part of my canvas, I started my first company at 14 years old called Moof Goop. I chose business. Moof Goop was a borax-free slime company that operated at the peak of the slime trend on social media. And as a young teen, slime's transferable and imaginative properties captivated me. However, as soon as I realized that most slime contained borax, which can cause adverse health effects like chemical burns, I knew I had to embark on a mission of creating a safer slime product. And after months of experimentation, I had come up with my solution. Once I had my recipe, I then experimented with many product variations. I would come up with these variations after observing changes in my surroundings, my past experiences, or even looking at pop culture trends. For perspective, I thought I'd walk you through some of the slimes I sold in Moof Goop. This first one is called Moof's Creme Brulee, and it was made to model the French dessert. It came with a layer of gold leaf on top and a miniature spoon, so you can crack it. The next was It's a Moof Mellow World, which is a Christmas slime, which looking back, ironically, had many flurry charms. Maybe my song was mirrored by my slime the whole time. And then this last one, which was a fan favorite, was Moof Loops, inspired by our childhood favorite cereal. From there, I would then see how each of these products fit into a brand identity and contributed to a greater mission. Eventually, I designed over 90 product variations, accumulated over 70,000 followers on social media, and generated over 5,000 sales in over 20 countries. As a young teen, this level of reach was extraordinary. Seeing how my ideas can impact a large audience was undeniably inspiring. From there, I realized commerce had the power to unleash and represent so many creative passions and interests. From there, I then chose to pursue a degree in commerce. When I made this decision, I was under the impression that my degree would be full of the creative product development opportunities that defined who I was. However, I quickly realized there was a lot more to business school than just being a big innovation hub. Initially, I actually found business school to be quite challenging because it was a huge contrast to what I believed business was. Because of Moof Group, I saw commerce through a creatively tainted lens. And while there are creative components to my degree, like marketing, I found myself longing and yearning for a greater creative outlet. That was until I wrote my first song in finance class that one day. From that point, I gave into the pull and could not stop writing songs. It quickly became my greatest grounding force. I would write songs inspired by my past experiences, surroundings, or even through observing different social situations. At this point, I had realized that songwriting allowed me to express structure in a creative way, and the themes of my songs were unique because I was in business school. Inversely, I also found myself becoming more intellectually present in technical business settings. I saw myself developing an enhanced aptitude for finance, economics, and data analysis. Maybe my canvas was always full of financial capabilities, and all I needed to do was unleash this further through creative detailing. And who knew that songwriting would unleash all my critical thinking skills? To date, I have written over 150 songs. And I constantly mirror the songwriting process to the product development one, as each require a similar degree of innovation and both work to connect to a given target audience. While I'm in the process of recording and developing my debut EP, I have grown to realize that songwriting is an extension of all the creativity that has always existed within me. All to say, I know my songwriting journey was engraved in the snow long before I knew how to write. At the end of my song flurries, I then pose an important question. How do you contain the blizzard that lives inside your mind? At that moment, I was trying to make sense of all of my wild ideas. And in the accumulation of 5 minutes, everything had made me realize that my canvas was never blank. It was just always evolving and was going to present differently no matter what. Now that you've seen how creative opportunities have emerged in my life and Sarah's life through dots and flurries, I challenge you to identify how creative opportunities can be presented in your life. As a rule of thumb, I have developed a framework to help you identify this. 1, acknowledge your dots and flurries. Ask yourself if there is a world reaching out to you from outside your window. Are there any creative interests or passions that you are yet to explore but haven't fully leaned into yet? If the answer is yes, pinpoint them and determine exactly what you love about them. 2, analyze your circumstances. Look into your life in the past and present, and see if this emerging interest is coming from anywhere that has connected you with your life? If the answer is no, look again, and you may see that you were always being influenced by your past. And third, hone your craft. Passion takes practice. You will not become a maestro overnight. You have to work through roadblocks and challenges to become the best version of yourself. And then, perhaps you'll develop even more creative interests and go back to step one and acknowledge even more dots and flurries. And maybe one day, I'll write a musical outlining the creative process like my biggest inspiration, Stephen Sondheim. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. First, I have to master the art of business school and songwriting. Through this framework, I hope you are able to identify how creativity can enhance the structure of your life. Sarad's creative opportunities came to him in the form of dots. Mine came to me in the form of flurries. And through a glance out the window and an edit to a canvas, worldviews were shaken. For you, creative opportunities will undoubtedly look different. Regardless, they will greatly enrich your life. So, I call on you, lean into the worlds outside your window. Find your own dots and flurries. Ultimately, your life is a structural base where creative opportunities will land. Thank you.